So Value Electronics did their annual shootout or review of televisions. I'm just going to put it like this. I am so sick and tired of Sony winning every year. I don't know who needs to hear that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every year, Value Electronics does one of these shootouts. Sony, without fail, every single time, since reliably like what, 2018, 2019? They've just been cleaning house. It's so annoying. Sony is not king of anything. How are we ignoring the fact that, like I was saying in the last video, you're paying more than every TV manufacturer around on Earth right now at the consumer level for something that doesn't even have all the features, all the bells and whistles. That should come out of their bottom line as to their score. It never does. Then we're going to go ahead and give Sony the pass on that crap-ass motion when you turn on, motion processing. The whole point, by the way, for anyone confused of motion processing, is to create smooth, fluid motion. I understand not everybody likes soap opera effect. That's totally fine. But the point is that the processing is capable of doing fluid motion. They don't have that. Sony does not have that at all. In fact, LG should be taking those categories by a landslide. No word there. It gets to such a point where then it gets like, okay, what is Sony really offering? They have a sharp picture, but so does everybody else, right? Sony's not like overachieving more than anyone else in that area, especially when we start talking about Samsung with their real depth enhancer. That's really impressive. LG with their AI Thin-Q processor achieves incredible clarity. I mean, have you seen the clarity on the G3? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. The tone mapping, the highlight placement, all of it's beautiful on both of those TVs. I'm going to say this right now. The S95C is the best HDR TV on Earth right now, point blank period. The amount of color alone is just like amazing with the brightness. It's great. Now again, the A95K, or A95L rather, is a QD OLED. Okay, it's going to have very beautiful color as well. But the problem that I have with Sony is that they're charging so much more and they're producing worse things like motion artifacts. And you have less features like two HDMI 2.1 ports, and it's usually 3 and 4. That's like the HDMI 2.1. Like, it's so stupid. One of which is always eARC. It's always eARC, so you lose that immediately. Like, it's just, why? And we're sitting up here basically telling Sony you have nothing to fix, you're great. Well, we aren't saying that, right? Value Electronics says that. And then they put it on a sticker every year, right before these TVs launch, by the way. Don't you notice convenient timing of this? It always happens right before the A95L, A95K, A90J, all these TVs launch. They do these shootouts right before. And then they put those badges of King of TV right next to the sticker in Best Buy or whatever retailer. Are we not catching on that, like, this is very much like feeling more like Sony sponsored, to the point where it's just like they're giving themselves an award every year that people believe? It's so infuriating because this is the type of crap that destroys transparency in the market. You literally have a company that is charging the most out of everybody, not performing. Bro, they're not on LG's level. Like, LG with WebOS, they've got the better remote that like is so enjoyable, the better operating system alone. Hello, like, what the hell? Like, Sony is so behind the times, it's not even funny, like, with what they don't even have. Samsung's game mode is like freaking industry leading. You've got literally motion processing and game mode with hosts of options that are just amazing and missing on Sony, right? Sony's big move, oh, you can shrink the screen. Okay, like, who the hell needs that? Like, the fuck? It gets so irritating. And I watch this every year, and it goes down like that every year, and it's like Sony wins everything all the time. Now, I'll be very transparent. I am a Sony owner of like a lot of their products. Particularly almost every video that I shoot and do comparisons with, I'm using Sony cameras. Like, literally, like, no, really, watch this. Don't know if you can see the name on that camera, but it says Sony, and this is the Sony A7 IV. And this is another Sony camera right here, the A6400. My Sony branded camera bag, which inside contains a Sony A6000. Inside this camera bag, I've got another Sony camera
as you can clearly see right here, Sony.
And this was back when Sony partnered with Carl Zeiss and created these awesome lenses for their EA-LA3 mount or whatever the hell it is. I forget the naming of it, but you guys know that big bulky mount right here? Yeah, just so that you can attach it to your A7R Mark IIs. Like, I'm telling you right now, Sony, I've been supporting these guys forever.
Oh, but we're not done. More Sony merch here and here, right? This lens right here, how many people know what this is, right? Sony G Master right there. I mean, we all know what a G Master goes for. I mean, come on. Like, really.
And I haven't even talked about my Sony A8G Bravia OLED that I have. I mean, it gets to such a point, I have so many Sony products. We don't have time for all of them. But the point is, you see, I've been supporting Sony for a very long time. So for people that like to say, oh, he's paid by Samsung, he's a shill of Hisense, he doesn't like anything Sony, what did Sony do? Who hurt him? Shut up. Really, like, you sound stupid to me because I used to support them more than almost anyone out there, but they have fallen. And I think as a paying customer, I put my thousands where my mouth is and invested in their brand. So I have a right to speak up and say when something is not right or when something is wrong with the company and their direction. And Sony, with the crappy motion and the laziness and just the adulation, they're getting awards that they are not truly earning, right? It's just every year Value Electronics comes out and pumps out the old award. And Sony is literally hearing people say they want things that they aren't getting, like better motion processing, all 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, more features, particularly in the gaming space, like we see on LG and on Samsung. And Sony's just kind of sitting here like, so what? We don't really care. And it's very infuriating because they charge the most out of everybody, and they're not really showing up to the party with a whole lot. Like, yes, you have quantum dots. Yes, you have a good processor, but good isn't flawless because I'm going to tell you right now, I've done multiple comparisons of the XR cognitive processor versus the X1 Extreme chip from 2017, and it was destroyed, eviscerated. Like, it gets to such a point where you can't help but shake your head and go, wow, like, what has happened? We are actually being sold a placebo effect. And, like, not everybody has a backlog of TVs to be able to pull and say, hey, this year, 2019, 2018, 2017, this is how they were performing. Here's how they are in 2023. I have that, and I'm showing you guys that stuff transparently and you know, showing you the transparency behind it. And it gets really annoying because this should not be happening. So my whole thing with this is like, yes, it's a rant. Of course, I'm aware of that, but I'm so annoyed because Sony could really, truly be what they used to be if everybody collectively stopped just believing the propaganda that we're seeing out here. Like, I get it. There are a lot of people that, like, it's hard to convince people they're being lied to. Many people don't want to believe it because everyone wants to think they're capable of making the right decision. And a part of that is trusting a YouTuber, trusting a source of information, and then being told, no, you've got to go back to the drawing board. What you're hearing is actually wrong. They're going to feel like it's a personal attack. I would encourage everyone to just ask questions like why and to keep digging and go down rabbit holes and find your own answers, because as it stands right now in 2023, Sony is being given awards that they are not rightfully earning. They are just not on top of their game above everyone else to be able to claim that they are king. And that is just as simple as anyone is going to tell you.